everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. So today, we're talking about lunges. So this has ended up being a very informal series on my channel where I take a basic movement pattern and I break it down, showing you the common mistakes and how to fix them. So we're gonna discuss 3 different things within this video. We're gonna talk about what a lunge is, why it's important, and then we're gonna see some common lunges and their mistakes and how to fix them. So let's jump on in. So starting off simply, what is a lunge? Typically a lunge is where one leg is stationary and the other leg is stepping or lunging. A pretty common misconception I hear a lot is that a split squat is actually a split lunge. Honestly, I don't care what you call it, like now we're just splitting hairs at this point. But technically, if both feet are on the floor like a split lunge, it is actually a split squat. But again, I really don't care what you call it. Now, when it comes to lunges, there are endless possibilities, which we are gonna go over at the end of the video, some of the more common ones that you'll see and how to fix them. But first, we're gonna talk about why they're important. So lunges are important for a few different reasons. Number one, they're gonna strengthen your legs. What muscles you're hitting more of is going to depend on the angle of the upper body, but essentially with a lunge, you are gonna hit like the entire leg musculature. Another benefit is that these are great for your core. This is a unilateral instability exercise since you are taking a moment to balance on one side of the body, so you're gonna build your core strength with these movements. Lunges are also excellent for your hip mobility. Many people have really tight hip flexors or just really weak hip flexors, which a lot of times make them feel pretty tight. So lunges are gonna help strengthen the hip flexors so that they don't feel as tight and also move them through a larger range of motion than most of us get day to day, AKA seated at a desk. And then finally, my favorite reason, they're really freaking functional. So lunges mimic things like walking, running, kneeling down to pet your dog, dodging a reckless driver. We lunge every single day, so it's really important that we are practicing this movement pattern within our training. So now, let's practice them. Switching to the wide lens, ooh, ooh, ooh. All right, let's do some lunges. So we're gonna go through 5 different lunges today. Reverse lunge, forward lunge, lateral lunge, curtsy lunge, and jumping lunge. I actually asked you guys on Instagram which ones confused you the most or which lunges you had issues with. And another big thing that I heard was that lunges cause you a lot of knee pain. So I do have a video all about knee pain coming out later in the month. So again, subscribe so you don't miss it. Okay, let's start with reverse lunges. So our reverse lunge, we're gonna start with the feet together, stepping 1 foot back, taking a big step back as we bend the back knee. Ideally, we do wanna have the hip mobility where we can kiss the knee to the floor and then come right back up. So again, we're coming back and up. Now, the biggest mistake I see with reverse lunges is that we aren't taking a big enough step back, and that can be due to hip mobility, that can be due to improper muscle recruitment, but there's a few different ways where you can fix that. The easiest way is to simply look in a mirror. A lot of times we're just not aware that we're not doing it correctly. If you don't have a big mirror where you can watch yourself, you can film yourself, or if that's still becoming an issue and you simply do not have the range of motion for it, I want you to then make it a split squat instead of a reverse lunge. So by making this a split squat, this is just going to help you control a little bit more because you're already setting yourself up in the exact position where you need your legs. Remember, we want the knee in line with the ankle and the knee under the hip. So you're looking for 2 like almost 90-degree angles here. So next up, front lunge. So we're gonna start with the feet together again, lifting up one leg. We step it forward and then back. Forward and back. Same thing, ideally, kissing that back knee this time. Well, I guess it was always the back knee, just the other knee. So as far as the common mistakes, it is the exact same thing as the back lunge or reverse lunge. I just see people not taking a big enough step, and a lot of that is either not having the hip mobility, not having the muscle memory for it. So same exact fixes, tape yourself, watch yourself, split squat instead, you know the drill. Next up is one of my favorites, and all of my clients know it, a lateral lunge. There's just a lot you can do with this, and it's very functional because now we're taking in a new plane of motion where we're moving this in the frontal plane or side to side rather than just sagittal, front to back and up down, because that's how most exercises are structured. So we're gonna do this just to one side, but remember there's a lot of different ways that you can perform a lateral lunge. You can alternate it, you can end with the balance, you can put it with different planes of motion. We're just gonna keep it to one side. So feet together, we're stepping one leg out, making sure that the toes are toward the front. We're sending the hips back for a nice hip hinge, but keeping the chest lifted. Driving into that heel that just lunged out to the side, we come back to the center. That again, chest comes forward, we sit the hips back, toes to the front, and forward. So I'm gonna get really specific with people on their lateral lunge, which is definitely a more challenging exercise, but personally, I actually don't think it's as challenging as a forward lunge. But the reason I wanna get really specific with the placement of the body is because number one, we wanna make sure that we are targeting the glutes here and not just the quads. And number two, we wanna make sure that we are protecting the knees. So if the toes are turning out, if we are too upright, those are the most common mistakes that I see, and a lot of this is gonna put heavy pressure on the knees, which is why a lot of people experience pretty severe knee pain within their lunges. So if you're having trouble performing your lateral lunges, kind of the same thing that I said about the front lunges and the back lunges, make it static. Make it a static lateral split squat thing. This is gonna help your body understand exactly where your foot placement needs to be, exactly where your weight is going, so that when you have to actually step into it, you have a better chance of having the muscle strength and muscle memory to actually perform a real lateral lunge. Next up, curtsy lunges. We're gonna start by taking a little turnout, external rotation. So this is gonna hit a little bit more of the glute med, as well as the quad and the hamstrings and the glute max. So taking one leg back, keeping that external hip rotation, we're bending down, pressing the knees out over the toes, and coming back up. Coming down, and up. One more time, down, and up. One of the biggest issues with curtsy lunges is that I don't find that people understand, without proper cueing and without proper help, how to externally rotate from the hips, and therefore they end up doing it from the knees. And that is just gonna put way too much pressure on a joint that does not need that much mobility. So with the curtsy lunge, there are two different things you can do. Number one, you can make it static, so more like a curtsy squat instead, just like everything else that I've talked about. And number two, I think that you could just kind of implement a little bit more like external hip rotation work to make sure that the glute med and the hip flexors are really strong. All right, last and most advanced is a jump lunge. I wasn't gonna put this in the video, and then a bunch of people requested it, and here we are. There's nothing wrong with jump lunges. Again, I just find they are incredibly difficult for people. Like, I would put this at the highest difficulty out of all of these. So let's break it down. I'm gonna give you a few like intermediate, more beginner options. But remember, the most beginner option is to just go back to a normal reverse lunge. So starting with the full thing, we're gonna keep the feet together and we jump apart, finding that 90-degree angle. We switch. Let's do that again. Switch and switch, switch and switch. Okay, my downstairs neighbor's gonna hate me. So if you're having trouble with that, actually hitting your form or getting the legs up, a great way to take it down a notch is to add in like kind of a little pop jump in the middle. So we start with our legs together, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And just always remember that like the most advanced version of an exercise isn't always necessarily the best option for you. So if you want to get really good at jump lunges, go ahead and practice it. But if you don't really think that you need that in your programming, don't do them. All right, so that is it. So if there's any other exercises that you want broken down, let me know down in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any content, and I will see you all in the next one.